but to just focus on the crux of what you experienced and some of these issues, because this is not about you now. That is why you're doing this. This is about the citizens that are in there, that are languishing, that are suffering, that should not be there. Those ones that you met there, they're still there. They don't even have a file anymore. Their files are gone. These are the people.
When you go to prison, when he asks questions, you just say, you know what? Let me just relax, because you see, a boy that was washing my cloth when I was in solitary confinement and drinking what that's helping me to have water to wash. Like, I just ask him, I say, how long have you been here? I say, I'm here now 13 years. I say, what?
So this is why I am here. Let us all forget now that the elections are over, and let us play our role to move this nation forward. This is the only country we have. There is no alternative. If we destroy it, even when you are in your grave, your children will never forgive you. And discretion is a virtue. Nobody is coming to tell me that it was orders from above. We have no orders from above. Let no minister come and tell you, go and arrest Mr. X. We don't have the right to instruct you to arrest. All we can do is to lodge complaints. You investigate. If in doubt, you refer the matter to the DPP's office for advice. But if you go and interfere with the liberty of an individual or individuals on the directives of a minister, you have yourself to blame. I will not defend you.
Comes after concerns of overcrowding in jails, partly caused by people who've spent years waiting for their charges to be heard in court. Let's speak to our reporter, Umaru Fofana, who joins us now from the city of Makeni in the north of Sierra Leone. Umaru, this is a pretty unprecedented move, isn't it? So tell us about the state of Sierra Leone's prisons right now.
Hi, Claire. Well, the prisons in Sierra Leone across the country are grossly overcrowded. The Pudemba Road prison in Freetown, for example, holds more than twice its capacity for which it was established. And I dare say that human rights organizations have also confirmed this, that across the other prisons as well in the countryside, the same situation, is what prevails there. There are, for example, inmates who've been awaiting indictment and have been behind bars for years. And there are those who who are facing trial. They've also been there for years on remand, so much so that even if they had been convicted, they would have served out their sentences, yet they are in prison. And there's a very common phenomenon here, which is a disappearance of files, of case files. People are behind bars, and their case files, for some reason that is very hard to understand, disappear within the judicial system, within the court system. And even magistrates, according to the spokesperson for the judiciary, Elkas Sano, even magistrates who are basically in charge of preliminary investigations in the court system, sentence people beyond the number of years that they have mandates to do. So these judges are going to this prison to try to look into all these matters. And where they find out that people have been detained illegally, so to speak, they are there and then going to release them. We are not sure whether they will get any compensation once that happens.
It comes to something, doesn't it, when judges are so sceptical of the system that they are working at the top of. They're saying, we're going out there to talk to people directly because we don't trust how this whole process is being run. Who are they pointing the finger at, do you think?
Well, it's finger pointing. I mean, the left hand is blaming the right hand and vice versa. If you speak to prison officials, they will tell you that we are keeping people behind bars who have been sent to us by the courts. And there are some members of the judiciary who are saying that even those who have been sentenced, to serve a certain number of years, are in fact released without their acquiescence, without their knowing at all, let alone their acquiescence. So it depends on who you talk to. But then largely it is because of the way that the court system operates. Cases are adjourned in this country many times. For example, somebody may appear in court today and the matter is adjourned to months before they reappear in courts. So it's very slow. There was a talk that it's because they don't have enough courts, but then in recent times, more and more courts have been established in particularly remote areas of the country. So it is a view of the Chief Justice that once this happens, the prisons will be decongested and they will look into the issue of liberty of people who are behind bars. Let's face it, illegally.
So it's righting wrongs, but also trying to set up a system for the future that means the country won't get stuck in the same backlog again.
Exactly, that's what the Chief Justice and his colleagues at the leadership of the judiciary are saying. But I think campaigners are saying that what concerns them the most is the structure itself. The system, they say, is faulty, so it has to be corrected. And the Chief Justice is saying that in a way to ensure that the system is set up properly, let us look at why things are the way they are. For example, I went to the prison in the south in Bo, and I met someone there who had been there for 15 odd years. He had even gone mental, and nobody could tell me why he was being detained there. After a report went out on the BBC, he apparently was released. But that's just a single case of so many cases of people who are behind bars who basically shouldn't be behind bars.
Umaru, thank you as ever for the updates. Our reporter Umaru Fofana joining us from Mekene in the north of Sierra Leone.
But Sierra Leoneans, the fact of the matter remains across the country. Again, like I said, the Human Rights Report of 2020 made it very clear that we have, lots and lots of people languishing, in jails. The jails are overcrowded. And that is why we have to lend a voice to this particular issue. Because if Charles Margai was still the Attorney General, under this SLPP administration, matter of fact, we would have avoided having these crowded prison systems. Talk to me, Kashi.
Absolutely. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ibrahim, you just hit the point right there. When you look at the whole structure, this guy was fired as a result of him saying, gone are those days when, someone would, advantage somebody else and then says it is the power from above.
Right.
Which I believe, with everything that we're doing now, with everything we're condemning now, it's as a result of it started from that very moment. I mean,
right.
we all say that the imposing the Speaker of the House in Parliament, removing 10 members of Parliament, these are all issues that kind of took us to where we are today. Because,
right.
I always say one thing, of our country, Ibrahim, you can clearly see that, I believe if not the only country in Africa, we could have had a very structured and, a government that, anyone in the world could have placed confidence in, because, the executive arm is controlled by one party, and then the parliament controlled by another party. And surely that could have been, the right place where, political parties that do not mean well for their countries would be exposed. Because what that means, if SLPP were to come up with these strategic and very good thing for the country, and then the APC kind of go against it, the people would then kind of say, what, we can clearly see that the political party that is not good for our nation. But what did we see? We saw the president, having his way.
But if you go and interfere with the liberty of an individual or individuals on the directives of a minister, you have yourself to blame. I will not defend you.
Comrade, right there. This was the beginning and demise of the SLPP. Now, so the SLPP destroyed themselves completely, not only locally, but internationally, because Cashbox will talk about confidence and all of that. Kwame Kocha, go ahead. Right there was this man who says, we are not going to tolerate any, nonsense within our systems where orders from above and all that foolishness that has destroyed democracies across Africa. But this was it right here, Kwame Kocha. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ibrahim. It's so sad and hard to say these things. When I came out of prison, sometimes 2020 in August, when I started this crusade, people think I was exaggerating or propagating or making false statements. Ibrahim, being to prison is very difficult, but I've never regretted a single day I spent in prison, because that is where I changed my entire mentality. Because I saw injustice.
Yeah.
People have been in prison for 4 years. I was saying these things to you guys so many times. I said, we have a lot of Sierra Leoneans who are suffering. In fact, they've spent more time than even their jail sentence. Today, the evidence is out there. It's not me anymore. It's Umar Fofana who think toward the south and the east, not the entire country. Let me tell you something, Ibrahim. I was saying this thing, I will continue to say these things. You know, when we are talking about bad governance, the narrow-minded people want to just narrow it now. I will say this thing, I will continue to say these things. It has been started since 1961, but this time is the worst. This is the worst. Salone has never enjoyed pure or proper democracy, 100%. No, we can't be dishonest to this level. But you know, because of sycophancy and maybe arrogance to the extent people don't want to say the truth, they just want to, they just want to shift blame to others. If we want to make this country a better country, Ibrahim, we have to go back where we came from 60 years ago. We have to go back where we came from 60 years ago. The story of the war, they said the main cause of the war is because of injustice, meaning the police and the judiciary. This is the main cause of the war. It's written in, there are sometimes we have to expose these things. We have to be more robust in educating our peoples. Ibrahim, this is from a BBC reporter. If it is me or you or Kashpok, they will say, these guys, what do you expect? And they talk about SFP. Right. They know it's something good. When we went to a certain platform, like one idiot like Berewa, I was saying these things, and he was politicizing. For God's sake, Ibrahim, I have nothing against him, if not because of bad governance. Some of us are not talking there because we want a job. If I wanted a job, I would have stayed in my job.
Right.
I was happy. I would have stayed in my job, Ibrahim, or like continue doing other things. But decided to come out from the job and took another fight, right? Because I saw a lot of injustice over the years. Over the years, I've been fortunate to serve for 28 years.
Right.
So I know what went wrong during the APC era of Momo and the MPRC1, MPRC2, the Pakaba era, the AFRC, and later Pakaba and Eskroma. So I know what went wrong. I'm not saying these things because we want to condemn President Biu or his government, but I know him. I said I will not work with you because I know you will commit to us. You can never change the country to what we expected. President Nkrumah did well. He made some mistake. We won't say he did 100%. He made some mistake, but he did well, like upholding some rule of law without intimidation, no political detention, allowed people to express freely, like Al-Fatih and others. Nobody was arrested. I was arrested and detained just because I defended the poor boy. I never knew him from Adam. I said, if you want to use firearms, you must apply all the rules of engagement, meaning the paragraph 1 said, it won't affect your personal right to self-defense, but however, firearms will be the last resort.
Right.
Then I jumped to paragraph 3 said, when someone is committing a crime or about to commit a crime, not even commit a crime, an act that likely to endanger human life. This is the point, underlying the statement.
Right.
When it's committing a crime, an act likely to endanger, because if I'm committing a crime, but it's not like danger in human life, there's no need for you to eliminate me.
Absolutely.
I should be arrested and prosecuted. But an act likely to endanger human life, I was arrested just because I said this thing publicly. People started politicizing the statement. But I was happily living in prison because I knew I didn't commit a crime. I just said what I knew. These things I was a chief instructor, so I know them often. I will not go to my book and look for these things. I will say them from paragraph 1 to 6. I will go to the escalation of force from 1 to 5. I will read them and explain them for better understanding. I think it's just a honest service I did.
Absolutely.
I spent in the history of Sierra Leone, nobody was locked up for even a month in solitary confinement. I spent 9 months in a solitary confinement, but I was happy because I knew I didn't commit a crime. I was interacting with inmates when we went to court together. I asked them questions because I want to know. I can see, Ibrahim, we have a lot of people in jail. They are not working any longer.
They're crippled.
Because they're crippled. They've been crippled. They spent more time, no proper food, no better medical. The Parema prison, I can't explain. It's the only thing, if you go in the prison, you went there, you can see what I'm saying.
Exactly.
No matter how
so you have to feel it to know it.
You may think it's a joke, or maybe it's just a drama.
Right.
Or like Umar Fona, he's going to, maybe he will testify some of the things because he's never been an inmate like me. I spent 9 months interacting with these guys. Some people said, I've been here for 4 years. Just a traffic offense without having an indictment. Not like going to court, without having an indictment. I met with somebody in the court cell. I said, what's your problem? What's your crime? He's been half crippled. He said, my brother, I'm here for 4 years. Today is my first day of coming to court.
So this is
without
why
an indictment.
Right.
So many of us have been arrested because Lima, the Deputy Affairs Minister, said I should be arrested for an allegation. The first allegation that I wanted to overthrow the government. Someone who honorably resigned from service, handing over all my kits. You know what that means. If you want to resign,
Right.
you have to fulfill all the
Absolutely.
criteria before they give you a discharge book. I came with my discharge book and my letter, the letter I wrote and the letter they gave me to the CID. I gave them access to search. I was still charged for subversion. I was still charged for lawful possession of arms and ammunition. Imagine. Then I went to court with 9-count charge. Later, I was released and arrested in the court room. In our laws, 200 meters outside the court, nobody should be arrested. I was arrested again in the court and charged again with another 25-count charge. 19 of the count charge is perverting, which the maximum sentence is death and the minimum is life imprisonment. Out of 25, 19 because they wanted me dead, because they see me as a threat, especially coming out of saying things about the security sector, especially the police and the military, which I know the rules.
Right.
I spent so many years, not like wasted years. I was learning and teaching, so there are some things I don't open the books.
Right. Because
Let me tell you something,
ingrained in you.
We have to depoliticize our mentality. We have to, de-radicalize our tribal thinking, because one of the things Sierra Leone, we've suffered this tribal and political line in a regional line basis. It has been there before, but now it's the worst. It has been there since independence, since we have the first SLPP. The SLP mentality is to divide this nation in a tribal line basis. They want to own the country. Every institution, this will be 95% employees. It's like we're running a Mendy country. We don't want to say this tier, but we have to say it because
Very
in the
tribal.
report, they said one tribe should not dominate any institution.
No.
In fact, they said no tribe should be 10%, more than 10% in any institution.
It's
there in the TRC report, because when they were making their report on the TRC report, they tried to demonize the APC. Like during the APC era, no other tribe was working except the Libas or the Timini. They forgot about the Salia, Jesus Herif, the JB Dauda, the APC specific. And there are a lot of people that we knew, me and you, but because they want to demonize the APC government, they put this, and it's written now.
Right.
That no single tribe should be more than 10% in any office. Go to Jubilee,
right.
Go to land,
Truth
go to
and
Marine
Reconciliation Commission, guys, is what we're talking about here. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission after the brutal rebel war.
Calling Sergeants, go and watch the TRC report. Check the TRC report, because we don't want to go where we came from 31 years ago. And we are heading there, Ibrahim. We are very close to that place, because one tribe should not hold 15 tribes to ransom, like what we are seeing now. But when I was saying about the Parebaru prison, they say, it's a made-up story. How will you say this? Now it's from the horse's mouth. The man that was dodging the report, Imam Fana was dodging all this while. He was not saying these things. Imagine, I came out of prison, I contacted this guy, I want to explain these things to the world. And I'm still seeking for this help. I'm still trying to explain. I want to have a platform that I will explain these things, because I have a lot of things to say, Ibrahim. I still have problem. I contacted Umar Fana, I'm communicator. I spent 9 months. You know about the Parima attack. I have the story to tell. I want the story to have this story about Parima, about the massacre, about the unlawful detention of Sierra Leoneans, innocent people, including men and women. I don't get the opportunity both to and look at radios, not in terms of radio. And still, I'm still crying for this opportunity, because I have a lot of things. Abraham, this platform is not enough. We are trying, but I want the world to pay attention to these things. Let me tell you something, Ibrahim. I'm thinking of making, like when Mandela came out of prison almost 32 or 33 years ago, he made a book. They called the book the Nelson Mandela Rule. And in the rule 12 of Nelson Mandela said, no one should be in solitary confinement for more than 48 hours.
Yeah.
And in Nelson Mandela rule 12, he said no one should stay in solitary confinement for more than 48 hours. Imagine, Mandela spent just 10 days in solitary confinement. Imagine, I spent 9 months.
Solitary confinement, 9 months.
Solitary confinement,
that
9
is
months.
Total abuse.
My entire life in prison, I was in solitary confinement.
That is absolute abuse.
So Mandela said in his book, and they have this rule in prison, because they are looking at two rules in the entire prison, I think, across the world. is the Singapore rule, which talks about women's rights more in prison, and the Nelson Mandela rule. Nelson Mandela emphasized on like right to phone, right to free trial. No one should stay in solitary confinement for more than 48 hours. Right to better living. Imagine up to this in this 21st century, we are still using bucket as a toilet.
It's a shame.
This one. Imagine in this 21st century
in the African prison. It's terrible. You know, in Comrade, can you imagine up till this point? This is how Africans regard themselves. This is how we see ourselves, like dogs, like animals. Even dogs live a better life than some of us. Some of those people that are in prison.
The food in prison, I can tell you this thing for free. If you give that food to a dog outside, the dog will not eat that food.
Wait. Okay, so we won't forget from the victim, one of their family, then say get few things to talk. Yes, madam, what is your name?
Yes, me na Abibatu Munusa.
Okay, so you get here.
I get picking Abdul Munusa.
Abdul Munu.
Yes, sir. Now the 1 year 9 months the council.
So now 1 year 9 months for more than.
I guess why they do business. I not get again nothing.
Okay.
Even see the watch for left for me picking, I not get.
Okay.
The business money all lot for me picking. Okay. And the dead and the call for money, nothing they eat, not easy. So the papa men help women let release picking them. You have to beg them. Men help women release picking them. Picking everybody not fine. We picking them sick. We picking them sick inside. We picking everybody all not fine. Men are sorry for me. They are men are sorry for me. Men are release picking them. Men are sorry for me. Papa, they are men are sorry for me. They release picking them. Money no they give for you picking them. Nothing no they for you it's fine. They are papa they beg. Men are sorry for me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Zana.
Na mi small go on end side we dey beg papa government ya help we go on the suffer sana. Nothing no there na me na the big one. Mama no get for your papa again. We have papa government say prepare this case here. You know easy for we. The business one don't sit down no get nothing again. Even see the work can not get nothing. I left me brother and mama live upline the low sag. Na me wan get there. Na me dey work at this case here. You have a government now everybody this case here. You know easy for we. We go in the suffer inside. We go everybody there down. The brother is sick. He body all down. They have a government now everybody this case here. We no get nobody where they help we. We no get posting. We have a government. They are beggar for everybody this case here. You know easy for we. Diana, this time we get. People in the sofa. Okay,
madam, what is your name?
I'm named Memunatu Kamara.
Okay, Memunatu, yes. What you say for say towards this issue?
Well, wait till I don't for say. Right now, the old woman there, who brother, the neighbor there, they don't hold there for the past 1 year and 9 months. Like me, so me man, you know, do nothing. Most of the one they were inside there, all. Nothing they don't do. The one they will do the havoc, they don't run away. Now they don't can suffer them. We right now look me na woman. Who say they get me man where they support me pikin. They don't hold her. Me na me they suffer for take care of the pikin and me man is under. They are with the beg the big one there, the government. They are made sorry for we, may help we, not easy.
They are with the
beg and board and I didn't that's the body all sick, body all done. We don't try to we not able for pull up. Because we able to because they're innocent. But we beg we are let them really support them.